Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special segment on Learn Analytics. Today, I have two wonderful guests, Leslie and Darshana, with us here today. And today, we will be talking more about how to strategize your job search. So both Leslie and Darshana, do you guys want to just give a quick intro about yourself and then what we will be talking about today?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Leslie King. I'm currently the Senior Events Specialist at a tech company called Databricks in San Francisco. The way that I found myself here today is, I spend a significant portion of my time trying to help both people in my own network, friends, family, and my extended network with their job search process. And I felt like I've really discovered some great strategies. And so I just want to help share them with people. I know it's a really hard time right now with so many people being laid off. And I just want to do my part to help people who are struggling to find a job right now.
That's awesome. And Darshana, do you want to tell us your story? So.
Thanks, Hubert, for having me today. I'm Darshana. I'm an analytics professional, and I recently moved to the Bay Area. So, because of all the situation happening around, I have been rigorously trying to search for jobs, and I came across a site called a Facebook group, which is Albert Listings. And I signed up for a mentorship, and that's how I met Leslie, who was my mentor. And the amount of job search strategies she had, and she gave me useful tips which I could implement on a day-to-day basis, and I found wonderful results out of it. So I think I would be more than happy to share my experience as well, and I would encourage Leslie to to help others get these strategies.
Great. Yeah, thank you both for coming on.
Yeah, I'm honored for the opportunity. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into the tools and solutions that will help a lot of people. I guess we can start with just some questions bubbling in my head too, like maybe Darshana, you could answer. How have you been approaching this type of job search, right? Like I guess how are you approaching it, and how did you use sort of Leslie's tools that we'll dive into in a little bit to help you in your job search?
So basically, earlier in the time, I was going and trying to network around because I do not have enough network in United States. So that's when I was trying to come up with a lot of plans with regard to my job search. And also, I tried to add in myself into a lot of Facebook groups. And I came across Leslie, who provided me mentorship, and she gave out really wonderful job search strategies. First thing would be, I wasn't really organized, and her tools helped me to come up with the way I could organize my daily life, my day-to-day activities, so that they are in line with my goal accomplishment. And also, with the help of those strategies, I was able to come up with a list of companies, the potential companies that I wanted to target, as well as any sort of job description that gave me clarity on where I wanted to achieve and what position I wanted to see myself in.
Got it. Leslie, do you want to add components to that? Sounds like organization is a big key, staying sort of like goal oriented, you would say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that starting a job search, particularly in the middle of a pandemic, and maybe you're someone who has been at a job for 10 years and just got laid off and you haven't done this before, it's really overwhelming and daunting. And there's also this pressure of like, should I be spending every free minute of my life on job searching? And the answer to that's no. You have to have some balance with spending dedicated time on your job search, but also trying to keep yourself from going totally crazy and having other things as a part of your day that bring you some sort of like joy that isn't just the daunting element of job search. So really like building a plan and building it in a similar way you would a day of work, like making sure there's like breaks and time off and things like that is really just as important as making sure you've got the time to do it. And then you can feel accomplished too. You're like, okay, I don't have to spend 8 hours trying to job search. I'm going to spend this 2-hour block doing this particular thing that's going to help me get a job.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think that leads into a good segue. Maybe we could talk about some of these tools that help and you built, and we could show to the viewers, and we could dive into it more.
Yeah,
I could
absolutely.
screen share, and then we could continue that conversation.
Yeah.
So one of the things you mentioned was actually both of you guys mentioned is staying goals oriented, right? So you have this goals job search summary document. Do we want to talk about like how would you use this tool here, and
Yeah.
what exactly is it?
Let me tell you a little bit about it. So this is a sample document that, this was targeted to me, but you can make a copy of it and, tailor it to what your industry and what your background is. But the important thing here is really taking a step back and writing out what are the things you're actually looking for, whether that's a series of job titles, whether that's specific companies or industries you're targeting, or alternatively, maybe it's even related to company policies or company sizes, things like that. Identifying like what's the ideal job for you, but then you have to get a little realistic of like, okay, you're not necessarily going to find a job in the middle of a pandemic that meets every single thing you want it to. It might, you want to narrow it down to like, what are the absolute top 2 or most important things that you have to find. But the key part of this is that once you have this document, it's great for you to review and keep in your own mind of what your personal goals are, but it's actually a really helpful tool that you can now use to have your network, so your friends, family, coworkers, send it to them, show them what it is that you're looking for, because at the end of the day, the people who care about you want you to find a job. If they can, they want to help, but it's really hard to help someone when you only vaguely know, oh yeah, she works in events and she's looking for a job. That doesn't really tell someone how to help you. But if I say to someone, I'm looking for a company that's based in San Francisco, I want it to be over 100 people. These are the 3 titles I'm looking for. These are maybe 1 or 2 things that's important to me. Then my friends or whoever it is I'm talking to can think, okay, that rings this bell. I think this company would be good for you to look into. Maybe I have someone there that I know that I could introduce you to. So it's all around building that network and not being afraid to ask people for help. So that's a big thing right now, is there's a lot of embarrassment, vulnerability, I'm unemployed, and there's some shame around that, even though so many people are getting laid off. But there's also this element of all these other people in the world that want to help. And so remembering that and enabling people to help you is, I think, the goal of this kind of document, not just building it, but sharing it.
Got it. No, thanks for that insight. Like, I think I often hear like people are looking for roles, but then you want to help them, but you're not sure what they're looking for, like, I think that I could see that, like, sharing a document that you actually spent time and laid out. Oh, these are the roles that I'm very interested in, right? These are the companies I'm very interested in. And at the end of the day, these things are the things I care for the most. But Darshana, do you have anything to add to this document? Have you been mapping something out that's fairly similar after you've seen this? And excellent.
Yeah. So one thing I got clarity about is what industries I wanted to target in. After I found out what industries I wanted to look at, I started to search for the relevant job titles that are there in the industry. Also, I got to understand from various websites like Glassdoor that, what sort of culture is there in that particular industry or that particular company, which I could potentially target, because culture, again, is a really important component when you're also looking for a job. you definitely don't want to go into a company where the company is not really good cultural fit and you just, are trying to be in the company, but you're not able to contribute. So this particular document really helped me to list out all the job titles that I wanted to target, as well as look into that particular company's websites if they do have the potential hirings for these particular roles.
Got it. Got it. Super refreshing to see that, like honing into figuring out like what type of industry you're really interested in, right? Is it tech, right? Is it healthcare? Is it retail, right? Like, but I think like back to what we were already talking about, a lot of times when you're going into a job search, you have a lot of scattered thoughts and you see jobs that just pop up here and there, but you're like, that one looks good, this one looks good, but how do I really be organized around it, right? So I think this is one of the tools that helps you do that. But I know there's a couple more up the sleeve, so we'll go into those too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think there were another one that was more about how can you organize your week, right?
Yeah. So this one is, I'll go into organizing the week a little bit after that. This is more organizing the overall job search. So, a lot of people when they're searching for jobs don't honestly even think, hey, it might be useful to put this all in a spreadsheet. You might use spreadsheets at work, but you're looking at a job search in a different way. But for me, when I was first, I got laid off from my job about a year and a half ago and was unemployed for a few months, and it was really helpful for me personally to not just be keeping track of my interviews and my conversations with people via email, because I felt like I was losing track of what were the action items. So I would reach out to 3 different people and then say, hey, I'm looking for a referral. But then if I forget that I'm waiting to hear back from one says they'll get back to me tomorrow, one says they'll get back to me 2 days from now, I found that really difficult. So once I started keeping track of the company name, the link, who was referring me there, but also who am I talking to there? What's the name of the recruiter? It just makes it easy if I have to search in my email or figure out what's the next steps. Or when I'm starting my job search for the day, being able to look at like, what are my action items or what's the status of a job? Am I in the process of interviewing somewhere? Have I submitted my resume, but I haven't heard yet? Have I asked someone to submit my resume? They said they would, but they haven't told me that it's actually happened yet. So there's all these kind of different steps where you're waiting. And so if you have a spreadsheet and it has the action items listed out, then you can really, every day check in with it. What are what are the things that are on hold? Is there things that, you can write down, okay, this one I need to make a tailored resume for, or make a, cover letter for. So when there's things that, action items you need to do, being able to visually see them and prioritize your day around it is really helpful.
Great. Darshana, anything to add? Like, do you find this one useful as well?
Yes, definitely. First thing that earlier in the time when I was applying for jobs, I was bluntly going ahead and applying, trying to give in direct applications. But I found that it's completely useless if you do not go ahead with any referral or trying to make a personal contact with the recruiters. So what I tried to do is I tried to add in the spreadsheet all the companies, the job titles, and I try to see that if anyone can particularly can refer me out, and I used to paste their link or the name in that, and then I try to reach out to them, and within a week after I got any sort of reply back, it would be a really great progress for me to be able to understand where I'm headed to. So I think this spreadsheet was really helpful in having all the things pretty clear pretty clear in front of me. And I think that with the help of this, I could, you know, increase my chances of getting in an interview.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think you guys hit it on the dot here. I think the most value you get it is like when you're applying to so many jobs, right? Like every single one is a different process. Maybe this one, I've been waiting for a recruiter to get back to me, but I'm not looped in. It's been a week, right? You could put it in the note section, right? What I have to do. Maybe I need to follow up with that recruiter, right? And similarly, like maybe I was referred, but I'm still waiting for the recruiter, to follow up with me, and I should write it down in the notes. I see a lot of value in this tool as well as the earlier tool too, but any additional things, or we could dive into, I believe one more, right? The organize the week.
Yeah, so the next one is kind of around making a plan. So making a plan for what to do with your week. And then that one also kind of maps to a Google Calendar as well. So we can click into both of those.
Good. Click on this first one.
Yep.
Right. Do you want to talk about what this?
Yeah. So the way I break down the plan, and so obviously it's going to be different for different people depending on one, how much time you can time and mental energy you have. Maybe you have other responsibilities or other things that you're doing that you can't spend tons of time every day. But this is just a sample, an idea of how you can break it up with different items. So I really think about the job search and how to approach finding the jobs in two different ways. So one is more browsing for jobs. So that's the looking at, job boards. I particularly like to use Google's job search tool to find jobs because it curates all of the listings from the internet, as opposed to if you go to Glassdoor, you go to LinkedIn, you're only seeing from that one. But Google's like newer function, if I just typed in event manager jobs San Francisco, it would actually pull them from all of the websites. So that's the tool that I use. And so it ideally for browsing jobs, you want to be looking at the job postings every day or every other day, and then filtering by what are just the new ones that have been posted. Because once you've looked at like basically every job in your industry that's been posted, you don't need to go through hundreds of them a day. For me, when I was job searching, there might be 25 new ones per day or per every couple days posted, and that's it. So once you're kind of caught up to all the ones that exist, you don't need to spend hours and hours. But this is when you want to think about, okay, even if you're not necessarily applying to this job in this moment, what are the ones that you're bookmarking? You're going to put them on your spreadsheet. You're going to, if you need a cover letter or you need to find a referral, you can kind of do this step first. Or if it's one you're like freaking out, oh my God, this is the one, then you can kind of jump into, I need to apply for this second. But still, for me, when I'm looking up a job, I see the job, but then I go straight onto LinkedIn and look at the company and see, do I know anyone who works there? Do I know anyone's friends who works there? And then kind of try to get a referral to the position when I can. The next thing is focused more on target companies. So this is a couple different ways of doing it. So it's, looking through things like Glassdoor, best places to work, or identifying like what are the top companies you'd want to work at. That's one part of it. But then it's actually the alternative of like trying to make a list of like what are the names of companies where all of my friends work at or any of my old coworkers. I keep a spreadsheet always that's where literally just the name and the company name of like any of my close contacts. So this is friends, this is former coworkers, so that if I ever need to figure out where do I know people, and I can refer people to this list and see, okay, this is people that I know well enough that could make a potential referral or an introduction or talk to someone about the company. So I keep this list, and I really recommend everyone keep a list like this, like, because LinkedIn doesn't do like honestly a great job of just being like, where does everyone I know work? Like there's not like a great view for that. So I do it just in a spreadsheet as well. Where do my friends and former colleagues work, so that I can, then go in that direction. So now maybe I'm looking at 20 different companies. I'm going to go to every single one of their website and see if they have a job title that matches something I want to do. And the reason to do this is job titles are tricky. It doesn't always match your keyword search. Sometimes you really have to go backwards and be on the company website reading a description. Does this sound like something that fits what I would do? So that's why you kind of have to come at it from two angles. And then a couple other things in this realm. I tell people that it's really good to reach out to people and try to talk about your job search, talk about networking. So this can be your friends, this can be strangers, you know, people you come across on LinkedIn, or like us, it was through Albert's list. Forcing yourself to talk to people and telling them what you're looking for, but also, hey, where do you know people that work? Like, do you know anywhere hiring? And actually having those live conversations and giving your goal you're giving yourself a goal to do that once or twice a week also is less isolating. I'm going to talk to a real person. I'm going to, you know, talk about my job search, try to make some progress in a different way. And another thing I like to tell people is, if you can, see if you can make it an accountability buddy, whether it's your best friend or your mom or someone that's helping you with your job search. It doesn't have to even be too much about your job search, but someone that you can talk to every week or every other week, and just give them even a 5-10 minute overview of like, here's what I've done, here's where I'm looking to interview. I think that can be really helpful, because if you know that you have to talk to someone and tell them what you've done, then you're not going to spend the whole week screwing around. And even if you spend a few days screwing around, you're totally going to do stuff right before that meeting. So no matter what, you're going to at least accomplish something, because you have to explain to someone what you did. And I think that's particularly helpful with people who have a hard time focusing or have ADHD or whatever other challenges, and make the job search really hard. You know, you have trouble focusing, you're having trouble. But if you have to, like, you know, have a weekly or bi-weekly check-in where you tell someone what you've done, it makes you stay more on target, because you have to report it back to someone. You don't want to tell someone, no, I haven't done literally anything in 2 weeks. Like, you don't want to tell someone that. So that's another thing that I think is helpful. And then the last thing I think is worth spending time on every single week is preparing for an interview. So even if you don't have an interview scheduled, that doesn't matter, because interview people ask a lot of the same questions. So spending some time writing out, like, what type of questions would you ask someone to interview, but also focusing on what are the type of questions I think someone could ask me. And more importantly, one of the biggest things that's asked in interviews is, tell me about a time when, or an example when. And you really have to have a lot of examples in your back pocket ready to answer questions about, you know, a difficult experience with a whoever, or a time you overcame something. Like, understanding what are those questions that you might be asked, and thinking about not just the answer, but the story and the answer, because you can adapt those, and having those ready. Or for instance, if you're a technical person looking for a job, making sure that every week you're doing some coding questions, or you're doing something to prepare and stay fresh for the technical element of the interview, even if you don't have one scheduled, is really important. And also, if you have someone who's willing to do mock interviews with, doing things like that, you know, at least a couple times a month, so that you're staying fresh. So that's kind of how I like to think about the week. And you can change how much time you spend on each thing, but that's kind of how I think about it. Do you want to just pull up the calendar really quick so folks can see just a little sample? And again, different for everyone, but this was just a visual version of how I might structure. Oh, sorry, I have to add it, I guess. So yeah, if you go to the full week view, yeah, I think you have to change it to the view. If you go press day on the right hand side, all the way on, nope, on the right where it says day next to the gears. Sorry, we're mirrored, so I keep saying right, but it must be your left. Day. So switch day to, yeah. Awesome, thanks.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect. So as you can see here, I kind of outlined the browsing jobs, the company day, but then I added in some other things, like I added in exercising a few times a week. And then if you can see here, I like to balance out my crazy job schedule. And this is just something I did when I was laid off, is Thursday, unless I had an interview, was a day I just did something other than job searching. So for me, when I was laid off, I learned to sew and I was working on some other projects. And so other than maybe, okay, I might browse from bed, what are a couple jobs that have been posted today? But I really tried to give myself a break and have some time in my week that I didn't have to feel like I'm spending every minute on job searching, that I could spend it on, you know, a hobby of some kind. And that's really just to keep you from going crazy, especially because right now it's taking a really long time for people to get jobs. It's really competitive. It doesn't happen overnight. Even if you get an interview, the interview process can take weeks. So unless I had interviews, I tried to have Thursday be my like me day. And I like did things that weren't job related so that I could, you know, stay sane is kind of the goal. You don't want to burn out from it. And then you're so burnt out that now you don't do any job search stuff for a week because you just needed a break. So
Yes, we all need a break.
yes, important.
We need to take care of ourselves. But I really like this actually. I didn't know that you could automatically pop up those view components to calendar. But I think this is awesome. Anything for, you know, Darshana, do you want to add? Feel free. Any thoughts there? I think,
So,
and
yeah.
then Leslie actually gave us a lot of great insights from there. So,
Yeah, definitely. I would say that, the weekly plan was like a hit, which actually helped me to plan out my complete week by blocking in my schedule and, trying to make interviews for myself. I used to schedule interviews with myself and block that calendar out. And one more thing about the job search strategy was I used to create the Google alerts, which every morning it used to remind me that there are these job openings and you need to apply for it. The second thing was goal setting. This particular aspect really helped me to connect, network with a lot of people around me. So I used to make a goal of talking every day to around 12 strangers. And, you know, that is like stepping out of your comfort zone. You don't really want to do that, especially for the people who are introvert, but definitely that gave me a lot of confidence on talking to people, learning about the culture as well as getting to know how they are having this experience in terms of job search. And another very important point was taking out time for yourself. This particular time can be energy draining for sure. And taking out time in the form of getting yourself up with something, or, adding hobby and adding new things to your list is something you should definitely try out doing. So block your Friday or Thursdays and try and enjoy what's happening in your life. Obviously, things are not to be taken really seriously, but that sort of thing really helped me around.
that's great. Yeah, and this reminds me I need to exercise. So
You see, I didn't add it every day. I wasn't trying to torture people.
exercise right at lunchtime too. So
I'm too tired to exercise by the time my day ends, and I'm not a morning person. So lunch is the key time for me. It's like I'm awake by then, but I'm not tired yet. So that's usually a good time for me.
cool. Do we want to maybe wrap up near the end? Like I know there's a few more that we want to talk about.
Yeah. I guess maybe could you just really quickly, if you go to Google's job search tool, I just want people to see. So I don't have that link. Just go to Google and we'll use mine. Type in events manager jobs San Francisco, and I just want people to see how it works.
So what am I typing in?
Just type in events manager jobs San Francisco.
Oh.
As a sample.
So basically I'm just typing in a job.
Yep.
Manager job.
Yeah. So, and then if you scroll down here, if you click where it says 100 more jobs, and that'll kind of open this area. So Google now, and this isn't something that was happening, I don't think even a year ago, they curate all the job postings from all the websites. So you can really, it works the same way a Glassdoor or a LinkedIn would work, but as you can see, it's pulling from ZipRecruiter. It's pulling from all the job search. So this is what I would do. And I found it very helpful. Instead of feeling like I had to go on 12 different sites to see all the jobs, you can kind of see them all here, which I found was helpful. And for me, I really enjoy using the filters. So filtering by the date posted, or filtering by, at the time I was like, I will work in San Francisco. I don't want to commute south. And now these things sound silly. The idea of commuting is like not even a thing right now. But those are the type of filters. So using this tool in particular. And then if you want to just quickly go back to the other screen, one last thing that I wanted to talk about is asking for introductions. And in here, I link just a couple sample messages. So really my strategy above all else is using your network to try to get referred for jobs. Instead of applying to 200 jobs online, blindly that you see on LinkedIn, really trying to find out, do you know anyone who works there? Do you have a friend who knows someone who works there? Getting that personal connection. And then again, not being afraid to reach out to people that you don't know. So maybe you're reaching out to your friend and asking them to introduce you to their friend. So I walked through just in here, just some sample messages that you could send in different scenarios, whether it's to a person you know or a person your friend knows. And then I also walked through a sample message if you're just reaching out to a total stranger on LinkedIn and asking them for help, or asking them how they like their job, or if the culture, you can reach out to people, and some people might ignore you, and that's okay. And kind of getting over the idea of like, I'm annoying people, and just thinking, hey, I'm looking for a job, and I'll return this favor to someone someday when I have a job. If someone ever reaches out to me and wants my help, man, I'm gonna jump, because I know how many people help me. So giving that general attitude for it. And I know it's really hard for people to like, well, what do I even say? Which is why I thought it would be helpful to write out these sample messages so that you can adapt to, depending on who you're reaching out to, and you don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel of like, well, what do I say if I don't know them? How do you ask a total stranger to help you? So that was kind of what I was focusing on here.
And this last one?
This is, so if you didn't know anyone at all. So this is, say maybe there's a company I'm really interested in, but only 60 people work there. I don't have any connections. I don't have any second degree connections, but maybe I'm going to try reaching out to someone anyway. So for me, I might choose someone that I'm not going to choose the CEO. I'm not going to choose a VP or someone very busy, high up. I'm going to choose someone who has a title and a level pretty similar to mine, whatever that may be. Someone that, might have time and might be happy. And remembering that, at least in tech companies, a lot of companies give referral bonuses. So someone might be more than willing. And for instance, at my company, when I refer people, I have like a built-in button that just says, I don't know this person, but they came to me from LinkedIn. And that's a totally fine way for referring people. It's not like, I'm not claiming I know this person well and I worked with them. I'm just saying they came to me from LinkedIn and they were interested in the job, refer. But it still has a bigger weight when it comes from me than it does when there's a stack of 200, people who've applied in the last 2 hours to a job. It goes into a different pile at the end of the day. And, it also gives you the opportunity, and this goes into a little bit more preparing for an interview, which we could talk about another day. But in terms of, this still gives you the leg up, because you can then ask them questions that might help you better prepare for an interview, because now you're talking to an employee. You can get a better sense of the competitors of the company. You can get a better sense of their customers. What are the company's pain points? And then you can utilize those answers when you're interviewing to sound super smart and like you've super done your research. So it really does benefit you to talk to people, without messaging a million people and annoying people or anything, reaching out to someone and seeing if they'd hop on a 10-minute phone call and talk about, what do they like about the company. It can really help. It can make a big difference, go a long way, both in getting an actual interview and then in the interview process, being able to use information you learned from an employee really helps too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love, I'm sure our viewers would love something on like, how do you get prepared for the interview, right?
Yeah, I definitely have all sorts of tips on that, so we can save that for another day.
But all this good information, we'll put it in the video itself. They could click under and then they could get access to it. But I appreciate both of your time and really giving us valuable insight on this. So thank you both.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me. It was lovely to do this. And, you know, I certainly hope it helps. We'll also link my LinkedIn contact information if anyone wants to reach out to me with future questions or they're struggling in their job search. They just want someone to talk to. I'm always more than happy to talk. So we'll make sure we link that in there as well.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, for the viewers, if you guys have comments and questions, like feel free to throw it into the video. But thank you both and have a good night. So
Thank you, Hubert.
bye bye.
Bye.